So, hello everybody. Hello, sir. How are you doing today?
Very good.
All right. Hello everyone. I'm Kenneth Lobo, and today we have with us Shri Akhilesh Mishra, a senior Indian diplomat with us. He's the current ambassador of India to Ireland. He did his undergraduate and master's degree in mechanical engineering from IIT BHU in 1989 and graduated as the topper of his batch, both in his BTech and MTech courses, while also being able to achieve a perfect 10-pointer throughout his master's. He joined the Indian Foreign Services in the year 1989 and has held postings in different capacities in different countries. He's been the ambassador of India to the Maldives earlier from 2016 to 19. He speaks Spanish, Italian, Nepali, Sanskrit, Hindi, and English, which is a very diverse culture which Sir has been following. He has a keen interest in Indian culture, especially Sanskrit Vedic and classical literature, Hindi and Urdu poetry, spirituality, yoga, and meditation. We're very delighted to have you, sir, with us today.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a great privilege to join students of IIT Roorkee. And as an engineering student, I think it's a greater pleasure than connect with students, engineering students.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Sir, let's jump right to the questions then. My first question would take you back to your college days. Like you did your bachelor's and master's in mechanical engineering. So what inspired you to switch your domain from engineering to civil services? And what made you choose the foreign services in particular?
Thank you so much. I was very lucky that I belong to a family of scholars and intellectuals. My father is a teacher, he's a professor in Sanskrit. And having seen what a noble profession teaching is, I also wanted to be a teacher. And that is how I joined BTech. But when I was in the BTech final year, then suddenly my eyesight became quite poor, from -6 diopters to 10 diopters.
Okay.
And yeah, and in Varanasi that time, the doctors got a bit nervous and they said, it's better not to go for academic, but go for something less demanding on eyes. And then I explored some opportunities in engineering. I worked for some time in the Engineers India Limited and Bharat Electronics Limited here and there. I didn't really like. Then I decided that I should go for something more different, not engineering. And then I came back to my university, Banaras University, and enrolled for MTech. And at the same time, started preparing for civil services. In hindsight, that shift also is a very interesting lesson for all of us in life. As they say, we come across many things which are very bitter in the very beginning, but they are very beneficial in the long run. Yat dagre vishame pariname amritopamam. In life, we come across sometimes very shocking, very, very bitter, hurtful setbacks. But those jolts may be a very helpful course correction for life. So that shift from engineering to civil services was again not my choice, but it happened. And I'm very grateful to the Almighty that it happened.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So it's been one long journey, sir. Like it has been all of God's will and God's work that you've been reaching where you are today. Sir, as we mentioned in your introduction, you topped in both your bachelor's and master's degree. And in the process, you scored a 10-pointer during your master's. So how did you manage your academics? Like you said, you always had a love towards academics. So was it that love which drove you towards studying and getting those grades? Or was it something else altogether?
Yeah, I'm happy to share with you my secret that I don't see life necessarily as a process of mutually exclusive processes and mutually exclusive decisions. Like it's not like you have to think in terms of black or white, exclusively this or exclusively that. I found that a more rounded approach is better. And I was able to divide my time while I was enrolled in BHU for doing my MTech. So I was able to divide my time for both preparing for civil services, also for doing well for MTech. There's a lot of time if you plan your time properly. There is an incredible, huge elasticity in our mind and our capacity. Human capacity is very elastic. If you stretch it, then you have unlimited potential. And there is enough time for pursuing your multiple interests if you plan it carefully. My advice to youngsters like you is that you start assessing how you use your time. Like make an assessment of the past week, 24/7, how your time passed by. And then you maybe start monitoring the usage, the value of your 24 hours. How are you using every day? Make a chart, like you are studying, you are doing something, what activities take your time, and that will give you a kind of pointer and guidance how you can readjust the use of your time. You can always do multitasking, but you have to focus on one task at a time.
Right.
So while I was doing, I was very punctual about attending and meticulous about doing my work as an MTech student. I never bunked any class, but whenever I went in the class for MTech, I was 100% there for that program. If I do something, some research, some background work, then I did it with utmost attention. But it left me sufficient time to pursue other interests.
All right.
Yeah. So again, from my own experience, I think I was too narrowly focused, either academics, engineering, or civil services. Youngsters like you can have even more broad, more wholesome interest to pursue.
Right.
While you are pursuing engineering, you must have something else to nurture and broaden your personality, make it rich, more enriched. And then you have some longer term career goals to pursue, then you can do it, but you plan it carefully. And also I find that in human body, the most capable, most agile, most like fastest component is our mind.
Yes.
Not eyes. So if you are depending too much on our eyes to read and learn, then it's not the most effective way.
Right,
thinking makes it much quicker. Like you have to solve a problem that if you're doing it, actually you are solving step by step, then you take maybe 1 hour. But if I'm just looking at what are the steps involved, and in my mind I'm doing it, then it's a 2-minute job.
Right, sir.
So there are ways of using your mind properly to reduce time it takes to do that job.
Yes, sir. 100%.
We don't use our mind enough. That is the secret I can share with you my own experience.
Wow, sir. That is, I think so, very insightful that we're not being able to use our mind's potential to the fullest. And that is something which we all should explore.
Yes.
Okay, sir. Coming to our next question, like many of our viewers who are trying to get into the civil services wanted to know whether they should start their UPSC preparation during engineering or after their graduation. Like you've mentioned about how they should not be mixing their focus, but should have something else to do parallelly too. But then should they be focusing on starting their prep during their studies?
Yeah, in Rig Veda, there is a very fine analogy of life as climbing of hills. You start climbing step by step, and once you reach the top of one hill, then only you see what lies ahead. Right, and then you climb that hill, peak of the hill, and then you come across what lies ahead. My approach has been, and I think this is very valid for all young friends like you, that focus on step by step your life. Every step is important, and every step has its own fixed role and cannot be ignored. Every phase in life is a building block, a kind of foundational block for the next phase in life. So my advice is that one should do full justice to the current current duty that is at your hand. What is your immediate task? You focus fully on that, finish it, then you go to the next. What is the primary responsibility of a student like you to do your BTech?
Yes, sir.
So you must give full attention to the task that you have been entrusted. But having done whatever you have to do with regard to your course, cover the course of the BTech and engineering and assignments and practicals and whatever you have to do, you do it. I'm sure then you will find a lot of other opportunities. You will find time to think of other things. Also, if you look at, instead of labeling it one subject or one issue or one career to other career, if you look at the content of what you are expected to study as an engineering student, then I'm sure then you'll notice there is an overlap between what you are studying now and whatever else you want to do. Like BTech syllabus and UPSC syllabus, there can be some commonality. In my case, there was huge overlap because I opted for mechanical engineering as my optional subject.
Okay.
So my optional subjects were mechanical engineering and physics. So for me, there was a very large overlap what I was studying in BHU and what I had to prepare for in civil services. And thirdly, as I mentioned, like if you plan your time properly, efficiently, effectively, then I'm sure you can go beyond what you are expected to study as part of your BTech or MTech syllabus. So while you are doing preparing for your BTech or MTech programs, you can also find time for something extracurricular activity.
Right.
To sum up, as a student, my feeling is that you must do due diligence and justice to your responsibility as a student of engineering. That is your first priority. Plan it well, and then you will find enough time to do extracurricular. And UPSC aspirants, civil services aspirants can do that work as part of the extracurricular.
Understood. Understood,
yeah.
Sir. Sir, so like a lot of people who are like preparing for their civil service exams, they're not sure as to what service they should be looking forward to. Like, what are your insights on like whether they should like? How did you focus on the foreign services, or why did you choose the foreign services in general?
Yes. Again, I'll refer to the same analogy of climbing hills. Like every step is important. So for someone who is aspiring for Indian civil services, it is too early to start bothering about which service.
Okay.
So the choice of service has to be made at the very last stage. Even after your interview, even after your UPSC result has been declared, then also you can change and revise what service you want to get into. The real thinking about which service to go for comes at a very, very last stage. This is not the time to bother about which service, because you know which service one goes into eventually depends on many factors. Primarily on the ranking in the civil services. If you are very high in the civil services, then you have full option. Okay, whichever service you want, you can opt for, and you will get it. But depending on like your ranking in that, you may want to go for this service, but your rank may not allow you to get into that service. It's better not to think and bother and burden your mind with this issue at this point.
Okay.
Having said that, every service in the Indian civil services has its own unique advantages and pluses and minuses. By nature of Indian administrative service, you deal with people. You deal with power as it is perceived by the common people in terms of administration and running the administration. and also direct interface with the political leadership in law and order, a lot of grassroots level issues, developmental as well as policy issues in state capitals and the central government agencies. Whereas police has its own different perception and nature of work. Foreign service is very unique because by nature we are dealing with international relations.
Right.
And also, unlike domestic services, foreign service involves maybe 2/3 of service abroad. We are posted in different countries. I chose foreign service because I told you my father is a professor, and as in his university, a lot of students used to come from different countries. And as a very young student, I was exposed to people from different cultures, different languages, and that concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So that was a natural attraction for me to continue a profession where I get the opportunity to meet different people, different cultures, learn languages, and also compared to the domestic services, Indian foreign service is less politically connected. Like ours is more intellectual thinking, reasoning, arguing, debating, rather than having a dialogue, having persuasion from India's point of view. The day-to-day involvement with Indian politics is minimal.
Right, sir.
To someone who wishes to have intellectual pursuits, intellectual work, then foreign service is the ideal service.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sir, just give me a minute. I think so. Your video is frozen. Let me just. So, sir, is there any particular advice for the students who already started their UPSC preparation after keeping in mind that they're focused on their BTech, as you mentioned, they'll keep that in mind too. Yes, and like those students who have already given UPSC 1 or 2 attempts, like what should be their mindset, and any particular advice that you have for these students?
Yes, friends, I would caution that I appeared in maybe more than 30 years ago. So there has been some change which I may not be aware. So my experience is a bit outdated, but based on my own personal experience, I can share that contrary to the prevalent notion about UPSC exam and civil exam and preparing for civil services, the secret of success is not just memorization of a lot of trivia or facts, but actually understanding, internalizing essentials of different issues which matter for the country. Its culture, its society, its polity, its development issues, its resilience to cope with challenges. The key is understanding, not just memorizing. So whatever one is studying as part of preparation for civil services, one has to keep assessing what is the relevance. Why are you being asked to study this chapter or this subject or this issue? What is this relevance? What is the importance for the country? Why are you being forced to learn this?
Okay.
Whatever you are studying has some significance, some importance, salience for the national life. Some challenge, some issue which has to be addressed based on that input. So if you start that practical, pragmatic approach, understand, assess, analyze, rather than just memorize. So that will make your knowledge more wholesome and also really more effective even for the preparation. And also secondly, the preparation should not be seen as something to be done in isolation, but pursued as a part of an integrated, comprehensive effort for self-development.
Okay.
Either you are studying something as part of engineering or part of civil services, so you see the importance of gaining that knowledge. Whether you're studying general studies or constitution or in history or culture or sociological aspects or different challenges of development. So every single thing, if you know that, if you understand that, it also builds your personality. it strengthens you as an individual. For your development, that knowledge is useful. So you focus on gaining the knowledge which is you for your empowerment and for enabling you to contribute better for the society intellectually, or if you get opportunity to serve as a policy maker yourself, so that will be useful. That should be the approach. And also I found throughout my academic life that it is useful to cover the full syllabus. Not focus on that this chapter was this question came last time, therefore it's less likely, therefore I'll ignore this chapter. Don't do that. Look at the syllabus, entire syllabus. You should have full understanding of all the issues. So focus on entire syllabus, understand, absorb, internalize every part of the syllabus. Question why that subject is important and why it is relevant for you to understand and study. This is a very important part of, and whatever you study is like whatever you eat. It gets eventually internalized, broken down into small pieces, digested and absorbed in the body. Some two very basic elements. Like if you are eating samosa, rasgulla, dosa, dhokla, it doesn't remain with you like that in that form.
Right.
Similarly, what you are studying as an engineering student, that will not be used 20 years later. But the skills you gain, the principles that you absorb and internalize, they will help you.
Wow, sir, that's a very great analogy.
This is very, very important. So develop and enhance your understanding. And discretionary power is the essence of study. Like, how do you grow? How do you become a man? In Hindi, the term is manushya. Manushya originates from manan, man, mind. So only among all beings, human being is the only being which has power of discretion.
Right.
And education is the process of enhancing your faculties so that your ability to decide for yourself is better. And the pursuit of knowledge is like whatever you are studying, whatever subject you are studying, there is peripheral. But the process that you go through, that builds your character. That manifests your potential. How do you realize your potential? That determines how you are going through the process of education. Lastly, I must say, qualifying for UPSC is not the ultimate moksha or nirvana. Right. It's not the end of the suffering or your end of all your challenges. Every step in life brings its own challenge. Every service has its own challenges, trauma, difficulties, and harassments. Also, it has opportunities. In Urdu, there is a couplet, न जाने किसकी उम्र भर तलाश थी, न जाने किसकी उम्र भर तलाश थी, जिसे करीब से देखा वो दूसरा निकला.
Oh, wow.
तो जिंदगी में हम कभी भी परफेक्ट पोजीशन पे नहीं आते हैं. तो ऐसे नहीं सोचना चाहिए कि आप यूपीएससी क्रॉस कर लिया तो बस अब कुछ नहीं, अब सारी समस्याओं का अंत हो गया. ऐसा नहीं है. तो जिंदगी में स्ट्रगल है, हमेशा है. तो ये मान के चलिए, therefore somebody who has not been so lucky to get into the civil services should not feel dejected, should not feel belittled in his or her own eyes. तो सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट है कि अपनी डिग्निटी को बना के रखिए. UPSC exam is not the ultimate test of your caliber or not the only test of your caliber. There are hundreds of millions who are smarter than me, more talented than me, but somehow, for some reason, they have not been able to cross the threshold. But in all humility, I don't think that I'm better than all of them who are not able to get through.
Right.
That is important to understand. Particularly my request to people who have not been able to make it is very important, that they should not lose hope. They should not belittle themselves in their own eyes, and also retain their self-respect and self-pride.
Right, sir. I really loved your analogy of how we internalize the entire thing which we imbibe, like we study, and how it gets absorbed into our system. That was a very nice analogy, sir. Thank you for sharing that with us. Sir, if you remember anything about your Foreign Services Institute days, can you walk us through those 2 years of your training period, just to motivate the UPSC students to see what they will be able to do?
Yeah. So as you know, for Indian civil services, there is no specific background needed. Like any bachelor's degree can compete. So Indian civil services is probably the world's most diverse and most broad base in terms of academic professional backgrounds, which constitute the civil services. Someone from science, someone from arts, someone from humanities, someone from philosophy, someone engineering or medical or management. So Indian services has whole spectrum of subjects for experts of which are in the civil services. The first step is when you get selected into civil services, then we all have something called foundation course.
Mm-hmm.
In Lal Bahadur Shastri Academy of Administration in Mussoorie, so we all different services, we assemble and then we go through a common course, foundation course.
Okay.
To which provides us different facets of life as a civil servant, as a bureaucrat. So that everyone, irrespective of the earlier professional background, during our academic background, gets a common foundational material input, and has some basic knowledge of every aspect of Indian life. Its history, its culture, its politics, its governance, its Indian law, Indian constitution, and also the contemporary issues of e-governance and rule of law and the information, like all the contemporary issues of India in very general terms. They are imparted in 4-5 months training in Lal Bahadur Shastri Academy.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, so that we all have basic knowledge of life in India, right. From a civil services point of view. It's a generalist knowledge. After that foundation course, we separate and go for our own specialized professional courses, professional training. Like the administrative service friends, they stay back, they come back to Lal Bahadur Shastri Academy and go through issues which are very specific to administrative service. We have our own training institution in Delhi, Foreign Service Institute. The Customs has its own training institute. The police has its own administrative service institute and police training institute in Hyderabad. Forest Service has its own training service institute in Dehradun. Audits and Lookouts has its own specialized training institution in Shimla. The different services split and they go for their own professional training. Okay. Relevant to in Foreign Service Training Institute, again, it gives us more than 1.5 years of basic training which is needed for serving in the ministry or serving in the embassies and missions abroad. So that involves naturally, again, because in foreign service also we have people like in my batch, we had 3 engineers, we had 2 management students, we had 1 PhD in geology, 1 veterinary science, and some arts. We had a very diverse mix. Somebody has studied this, somebody has studied that. So we all had to be brought up to one basic level. So all those aspects are taught to us. whether it's a political situation, political work, the overview of international relations, India's policies towards our neighborhood, India's policies towards major countries like US, Russia, and G5 countries, on thematic issues. What are the issues pertaining to India's foreign trade and economic development, international law, cultural diplomacy, and now consular work and diaspora issues are becoming very important. So there's again a specialized thematic area. IT and cybersecurity and technology is becoming very important part of foreign service work. So again, we get a training on that, like what are India's priorities and how to conduct our science and technology diplomacy. Communication and social skills are quite important. As India's representative abroad, we also have to host delegations and meet, and how we conduct ourselves abroad, again, is very important. So representational skills, again, one module which we have. Similarly, running the embassy, running the ministry, dealing with the people, management, administrative rules, accounting, finance. So there are a lot of issues, day-to-day mundane issues, which we need to take care of. So everything is like taught briefly in Foreign Service Institute, so that we all have basic awareness of what is needed to serve in the ministry as a foreign service officer, or serving abroad as diplomats in embassies and consulates and missions.
Wow, sir, it would have been one huge, very interesting journey for you to have such a diverse crowd around you all throughout. You would have had so many ideologies coming your way, you giving your ideology. How was that experience like, sir, dealing with so many new people all of a sudden who have cleared the exam and who have reached that level?
Yeah, like after we did our Foreign Service Training Institute, then we get allotted some foreign language. Compulsory foreign language to learn. Like I was given Spanish. I opted for Spanish. Some other colleagues, they got French, or someone Arabic, someone Chinese, someone different languages. So we Russian. So we were allotted one compulsory foreign language to learn, and based on that, we get confirmed in the service, foreign service. So the very first posting is called language training posting.
Okay.
We are posted abroad as third secretary language trainee, and that posting is primarily to a country where that allotted language is spoken, and we study that language abroad, try to be familiar, conversational as well as reading, writing, and we have to pass an exam, oral as well as written. Once we do that, then we get confirmed in foreign service.
Okay.
So my first posting was Lima, because I opted for Spanish. So, so we were hoping that we'll go to Spain, but government sent us to Lima, Peru, South America.
Right.
Yeah, and you know, that is a Catholic majority country, Spanish-speaking country. So we had hardly anyone speaking even English. What to speak? Yeah, so what to say about Hindi? To like anyone who we met who spoke English, we felt great affinity. But my wife and I were very lucky that we quickly, in 3 months, we learned Spanish, and then we felt at ease, and we made a lot of friends in Lima. Then after Lima, I got posted to Rome, Italy. And 3.5 years. Then, and again, we were lucky to learn the Italian language in 4-5 months, and that made a huge difference. We made like we could enjoy Italian culture and talk to Italian people and had a lot of fun. Then I was posted to Nepal, Kathmandu, and then after that we came back to Delhi, and then I was Deputy Consul General in San Francisco, California. After that, in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, east coast of Africa, I was Deputy High Commissioner. After that, Afghanistan, Kabul, I was Deputy Chief of Mission, 2008 to 2010. You might be very young, but that was where when Indian embassy was being bombed, and we had several suicide bombings in Kabul. We lost our own embassy colleagues, people who were working with me. After that, our posting was Consul General in Toronto, Canada, and High Commissioner and Ambassador in Maldives. And my daily postings have also been very interesting and very diverse. As a Deputy Secretary in 1999 to 2001, I was a Deputy Secretary dealing with Bangladesh, like responsible for India's relations with Bangladesh. Then as I came back as a Joint Secretary, and then first 1 year I was handling multilateral economic relations. But that deals with multilateral economic groupings like WTO, WIPO, UNCTAD, OECD, G15, India, Brazil, South Africa, Indian Ocean Rim, BRICS. That was also very interesting. Multilateral economic relations was an interesting portfolio. Also, I was Joint Secretary North that deals with Nepal and Bhutan. Again, there's a very, very strategic portfolio dealing with very important neighbors, Nepal and Bhutan, and that accounts for a very large portion of India's development assistance and huge political interaction between India and Nepal and Bhutan. And my last posting in Delhi before coming to Ireland was as Director General of ICCR, Indian Council for Cultural Relations, and Additional Secretary and Officer on Special Duty dealing with Development Partnership Assistance of India. The India Affairs is handling about $40 billion worth of development. And also in Delhi, I had very interesting, very significant assignments to handle. And I'm very grateful for everything that has happened. And yes, at every step, it all happened. I didn't have to ask for anything. I didn't have to lobby for anything. I didn't even ask for any assignments. We have in our service relatively transparent system of announcing vacancies and asking individual officers to give their preferences. But I always left it to ministry. Yatha niyukto osmi tatha karomi. So wherever ministry sent me, I went happily and I enjoyed.
Wow, sir, that's a very great principle to live by. Like whatever comes your way, you need to accept it and then continue forward, giving your best shot at it.
Yes, yes. Rabindranath Tagore said something to that effect, that I can't choose the best. The best chooses me.
Wow. It literally gave me goosebumps.
Yeah.
Like, it's very insightful to hear such things and to live that life as you have lived and as you've gone through the journey. Sir, one remarkable thing about you is, as I already mentioned, and as you mentioned, your love for languages. Could you shed some light on the importance of learning a language and any method a particular student should follow to learn a language effectively?
Yes. Again, I'm very grateful to like things which are not in my control. I mentioned that I'm son of a professor. My father is a Sanskrit professor. And although I'm an engineering student and after 10th, I didn't study Sanskrit, but somehow I inculcated love for Sanskrit and some like traces of knowledge that I gained through my father. So that has been, I think, the biggest help to me. Knowledge of Sanskrit is such a powerful instrument. It's so scientific. Its grammar pattern is like unique in the whole world. And Sanskrit, you know, is not spoken today in contemporary India in any part. Like unlike Tamil or Telugu or Bengali or Odia or Punjabi, Marathi. So these are languages or even Hindi. So they are identified with some region.
Right.
Like Hindi is one particular region is identified with Hindi, other is Bengali with Malayalam and Kerala and Gujarati. Sanskrit does not have any regional limitation languages. To having Sanskrit as something in your background, if you approach Spanish or Italian or Persian or many languages in the world, then you find some affinity. That has been of greatest help to me when I approach any language like Spanish or Italian or in Afghanistan, I was for 2 years and I could pick up Persian, they call Dari. So I have not followed it up, but I learned language in 1 year. That has been a great help. Studied in different countries, and every country gives different kind of opportunities. And if you know any language, you'll find how it helps you. For example, even in Kabul, we had very large international community. Afghanistan, very large and there I found my knowledge of Spanish and Italian most helpful, because a huge number of Spanish speakers from US and USA and Canada and European countries, they all came into Kabul, and I spoke them in Spanish or Italian, and it was such a privilege to have their friendship and support and their advice. That would have not been possible if I spoke formally in English and remain very like formal officious.
Right, sir.
So this language is extremely important, and whatever opportunity, any language, Indian or foreign, you have opportunity to learn, you must seize that opportunity.
Sure, sir. I don't think so.
I miss this opportunity. Like while I was in BHU, unfortunately, I was a day scholar and being homesick. After Friday, I used to rush home. So I didn't have that kind of free time to interact with my batchmates. And I feel this was a loss. While you are in the university, you must make friends with people from different backgrounds, different provinces of India, learn about their culture, learn about their language. This is a unique opportunity. You will not get it again.
Right, sir.
Yeah.
Sure, sir. We'll take this insight of not missing out on an opportunity on learning somebody else's culture or language, because
Absolutely.
a lot of us do it. Like we have courses which are there for, like we have an option to avail such courses, but we don't, thinking that what's the point of learning a language? But I think so after listening to you, a lot of us have understood the importance of learning a language.
Yes.
Sir, can you give us some memorable anecdote from your early years as a diplomat?
Yeah, as I mentioned, my first posting was Lima. So I opted for Banaras University because I wanted to remain in my hometown.
Right.
But subsequently I had to switch and opt for foreign service. My very first international flight was from Delhi to Lima. Can you imagine, like someone who has never traveled on flight? I had to go from Varanasi to Delhi, Delhi to London, London to New York, New York to Miami, Miami to Lima, like whole world.
Wow.
And you land in Lima where no one speaks English, like hardly anyone speaks English except the embassy colleagues and a very tiny 25 member Indian community. Initial days were very challenging to us, and also we are vegetarians, so even explaining to them what Indian vegetarian means was a challenge.
Okay.
So in Lima, I had a couple of very unique memories. Like I was a cultural youngest officer, third secretary, and I was dealing with cultural affairs. So I was taking one exhibition from Lima to other place through Kyo. And in route, we had somehow, I don't know what happened, my Toyota van, it's skid and like it turned overturned.
Okay.
And the van itself got crushed like a kind of paper object, like very badly. But it's a miracle that nothing happened to me except a small scratch, very superficial scratch.
Wow.
And then I came back to Lima, and then hired another vehicle and proceed with the exhibition.
Wow, sir.
And the second was after a few months, we had in Lima, those days, Shining Path guerrillas and MRTA guerrillas were very active. And in Lima, we had during 2 years, more than 25 terrorist attacks. And 2 terrorist attacks were really massive. They were truck bombs, like trucks filled with explosives. They were not suicide bombers, but trucks filled with explosives and exploded. During one of the truck bombs, I was in my home, and it felt like an earthquake. It was so massive. And in another one, I was in fact on the road, And it so happened that I was exactly halfway, I was crossing the road when the explosion took place. And that saved me, because if I had been on the pavements, both sides, we had a lot of high constructions and wall construction, and they all poured like water.
My goodness.
Had I been on the pavements, then I would have been seriously hurt. I don't know what would have happened. But that moment I was crossing the road halfway.
Oh,
It's amazing.
right, sir.
On the positive side, again, like coming back from Kabul, hale and hearty and with all limbs intact, again, yeah, like it's nothing like coming back from that country. And Afghanistan people are extremely friendly with India. So despite the security challenge, we had extremely fond memories. India is the only country which has affinity with all of Afghanistan, all ethnicities, all provinces of Afghanistan. So we had acute security challenges and targeted suicide bombings and blasts against our interests, very focused against India. But in terms of the impact of what we did, I was dealing with about $2 billion worth of bill. Ambassador or High Commissioner? High Commissioner is for Commonwealth countries.
Okay.
Yeah, the Ambassador or High Commissioner officially represents the President of India in the country where one is posted.
Okay, sir.
When I came to Ireland, I carried a letter from President of India, signed personally by Honorable President of India, addressed to the President of Ireland. And once I present that letter to the President of Ireland, then only I become formally Ambassador of India to Ireland.
Okay.
So I represent President of India, who is this head of state of India. In a way, like we represent India officially in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of practical responsibilities, my job is to promote and safeguard India's national interests and represent India in Ireland. What is India's interest and what is India's priority? The first and foremost is safeguarding India's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Second is making India's development, contributing to India's development, socio-economic development. And development in globalized world means there has to be conducive environment for country to grow. For country to develop and transform its society. So that needs not only friendly environment in your neighborhood, it needs a friendly environment across the Community of Nations, so that we have access to the relevant technology, we have access to international sources of funding, we have access to markets for our products to go and be sold. We have to have support and cooperation from other countries to deal with the global challenges of climate change and environmental issues or terrorism or narco trafficking. The security itself has become globalized. No one country can deal with it alone.
Right.
So our security is also dependent on a favorable environment with regard to cooperation on our security. Terrorism and security and climate. So promotion of trade and technology and tourism is important. Overall, how does India fashion its policies, its approach, its attitude towards developments outside or global trends? So as India's eyes and ears, we have to monitor trends, not only in our own country are posting, but also in the region, globally, continuously make assessment of what is happening and what is happening, what are its implications for India? How is it going to impact India? And also give policy recommendations to India with regard to what is happening.
Right.
Like how should India, what are the factors India should take into account, and how India uh, can respond to emerging situations. As representatives abroad from different parts of the world, we are all sending our inputs and in recommendations for the headquarters in Delhi to digest and incorporate those views. In terms of practical process and instruments, you can think of political relationship, building political contacts, government to government, official level, and also it's become very important summit level meetings. Like Prime Minister Modi himself is so active and he has personal rapport with world leaders, our head of state, our foreign minister. So they have a lot of personal summit level chemistry, high political level in one-on-one. So we as ambassadors from behind scene, we facilitate and plan for everything. We have a trade and economic and science and technology and sports, different areas of focus. Public and cultural diplomacy has become extremely important. In many countries, military to military cooperation and security has become very important part of our work. And also for building partnerships, building friendships, people to people ties are important. We have about 32 million strong Indian diaspora abroad.
Right.
They are playing very important role. The consular issues and diaspora related issues are quite important. We have a recurring series of from India to country of posting and also from country of posting to India. A lot of delegations, and then protocol is involved, like how do you deal with those issues. Social media is very important. Handling information is very important. Conveying our point of view, responding to misuse propaganda and issues that are being raised in different circles for opinion making. So as eyes and ears of government of India, we work as kind of CPU. Like you absorb different kinds of inputs and then you process it and then you pass it on to government of India to take action.
Wow, sir, it's very hectic day for you. Like, can you just run us through your day as an ambassador? Like, what does your day look like in general?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, like we have a very wide range of issues to focus, nature sectors to focus, and each focus on each one involves like identifying key players on Irish side and also identifying key partners on Indian side. So what I'm doing is I have to meet a lot of people. Whether it's a government, whether it's a parliamentarians, whether it's a media, whether it's a civil society, whether it's university scholars, whether there are other kind of NGOs, civil society groups, artists, musicians, singers. So I have to identify key people on Irish side. Meet them, business people in different sectors, whether it's healthcare or IT or medtech or agri-tech or startups. The different sectors, I have to meet a lot of people and talk to them about their priorities, what are their issues, and then depending on their interests, write to India and connect them with their right counterparts on Indian side. For an ambassador, that social activity is probably one of the most important parts of our job. Right. Meeting people, understanding issues, identifying every meeting results in some action point. Like you are meeting a businessman, a business company, and they have some issues, and that issue needs to be addressed. And how do you solve it? They need contacts. They need something to follow up. So every meeting, you have a lot of meetings, and each meeting leads to some follow-up action. So you do that. And then also a lot of reading and monitoring and assessments. Like all the thematic issues I mentioned, so there's a lot of publicly available information. So one has to read, we have to monitor, we have to assess and then analyze, and then you make your recommendation, your thoughts, share your recommendation, your point of view from here to headquarters.
Okay. So that's like your entire day is so hectic, sir. How do you like manage through this? Like, what is your main source of motivation still that you're working for day in and day out for the benefit of our country? And what can be some key takeaways that a lot of our youth, like you've been a diplomat, so you have held so many leadership positions. So what would be your message to the youth of our country in particular?
Yeah, I think my key message to the youth, particularly students of IIT Roorkee, would be that you must feel proud of who you are. And at this point in time, you must be proud of being a student of IIT Roorkee. What a pride it is for you to be there. Think of millions who are aspiring to be there where you are.
Right, sir.
There is not an ordinary privilege for you to be a student of IIT Roorkee. Secondly, you must identify your unique talent and be proud of your unique heritage, your unique identity. And you have to be proud of your heritage, your unique identity. At the same time, you must respect the other individual's identity. And no two people are identical. Right. Everyone is different. Everyone is gifted with uniquely special talents. No one is worthless, so to say. Amantram aksharam nasti, nasti moolam anaushadham. अयोग्य पुरुषः नास्ति योजकः तत्र दुर्लभः. कोई आदमी बेकार नहीं है, कोई व्यर्थ नहीं है, हर आदमी में कोई न कोई पोटेंशियल है. तो हमारी जिम्मेदारी सोसाइटी के लिए है कि हम उस आदमी के लिए, उसके भीतर जो पोटेंशियल है उसको रियलाइज करने के लिए माहौल पैदा करें. तो जब तक इंडिविजुअल में वो सेल्फ प्राइड नहीं आएगा तब तक वो ठीक से काम नहीं कर पाएगा, अपना पोटेंशियल अपना फ्लरिश नहीं कर पाएगा. दूसरा सेकंड पॉइंट इज दैट डोंट कॉपी, डोंट ब्लाइंडली फॉलो अदर्स, एनीवन. नेवर कंपेयर योरसेल्फ विथ एनीवन एल्स, because everyone has naturally diverse aptitude, diverse talent. And life is an irreversible journey which cannot be retraced. You would have seen like Amitabh Bachchan or Sachin Tendulkar or Sunil Gavaskar. Their children have not been able to retrace their parents. Sachin Tendulkar's son is struggling. Even Sachin Tendulkar, if he has to retrace his journey, it would be difficult for him. 100%. It's important that not copy, that somebody has taken this subject and somebody has done this and therefore he has accomplished this. This does not happen in real life. Everyone's life trajectory is unique. You have to decide your footsteps and next steps, and every step is important. So you must be conscious of that. Thirdly, you should stay calm. In times of setback and failure, in testing times, well, that is when your caliber is tested. Life is much bigger than moments of momentary loss and gain. You focus on the present, next step, every step. That is important. Every step is important. Every step, if you take it carefully, it will be a progress.
Right.
And also, I must say that in future, I see life will be more multidisciplinary. Like you are, Lobo, you are studying chemical engineering. In future, your life will not be determined by your knowledge of the limited sector of chemical engineering.
Right, sir.
You will need to deal with multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary issues. So you have to keep eyes and ears open and absorb as many as real life like issues of the society. Also, it is important to learn how to build teamwork, work with others. Because in future, no one individual will have all the knowledge that is needed, because life is going to become more interdisciplinary. This team spirit is important, for even more important tomorrow than it is today. Thirdly, this is a great time for an Indian. India is the fastest growing economy. India is one of the largest recipients of FDI. India is one of the young countries. India's growth potential is enormous. India has moved the value ladder in knowledge, every sector. India is held in great respect. So compared to when I joined Foreign Service, India's profile has grown very tremendously. So it is very important that you must feel proud as an Indian, and be positive, and not be misled by the negativity and toxic media that we have in India. You have the potential, and also, unlike when I was a student, India offers a lot of new opportunities which did not exist when I was a young student. So choose your options depending on your natural talent. If you pick up as a career a line in which you enjoy reading, doing, thinking, working in that field, if you opt for that field as your lifelong mission, then not only you will enjoy, you will be able to contribute 100% of your potential, you will be a star, you will shine, you will make your family proud, you will make your country proud.
Yes, sir, definitely.
That is my real message to you, that be proud of yourself, be proud of your country, and be proud, be confident of your inner strength, your inner potential. Not copy others, don't compare yourself with others. You are an individual, you are precious, and you can contribute, you will contribute to glory of India.
Definitely, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here, sir. Thank you so much for sharing so much knowledge, so many insights of yours, which you've gathered all through the years. We're very grateful to have you on our podcast today. And we thank you so much for your time. Thank you for everything that you could do for us. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much. My good wishes and blessings to all of you. And I'm always available on my social media, my Twitter, my Facebook. Twitter is only easiest, or LinkedIn. You can connect with me. And we will remain in touch. Anything I can do for people like you, I'll be privileged.
Thank you so much, sir.
Don't hesitate to connect with me.
Sure, sir, definitely. I'll just stop the recording, sir. I can then speak to you for 2 minutes without the recording.
Yes.